party has many Nigerians enthralled as he continues to decry what he says this country has become, distorted and endangered by politicians and a byword for insecurity, poverty and economic uncertainty. And the former Senate Chief Whip, Senator Ali Ndume, representing Borno South, joins me now in the studio. How utterly nice to see you here.
Hi, Charles.
Thank you very much for coming in. I was very worried about you getting
If I am not mistaken, we say that Nigerians are really talking about 2027 election. And Senator Ali Ndume has a lot to say about this present government and the president himself, President Bola Tinubu. And I think we have to listen to what Senator has to say here, and let's follow it up, see how it goes. Thank you.
This coalition is developing outside the major political party, that is our APC, is, to me, a positive development in democracy. There can be no effective democracy without opposition, which the major supposedly be the opposition has failed to provide. That is the PDP, Labour, and other parties. Right. Instead, they are turning the Nigerian democracy into something else. You can see the area of decampment. That means you're telling the public out there that you have no principles. You only need a platform. And even if you need a platform, you should be where your conscience will be with you. But that is not the case. And it is very, very dangerous for democracy itself. If there is no visible, effective opposition, that democracy is under threat of its own. I can see people, as you rightly said recently, politicians, not people. Because I said last time, what I see now is that politicians are decamping while the voters or the people that elect us are not. So you see a ship, as the president said, there is vacancy in the ship. But if you overload that ship, it is likely going to capsize. And if it capsizes, you lose everybody.
So potentially it could be
and that is what
a
I
big
fear.
challenge for the APC.
It's a big challenge. When you open your ship, if it is, even if it is a trailer that has 4 tires, talk less of ship. If you keep overloading the ship because others are desperate, more especially because most of them are not coming based on principles. But I know that many of them are jumping ship because of this indirect stick and carrot political approach. Majority. And that is not healthy at all.
Right. So basically...
So I'm doing what my conscience tells me at this age. I have to do that. And I feel that when you build a house and it's leaking or if something is happening with it, you just don't leave the house again. Or, No, you try to fix it.
But isn't that because some would argue, because I mean, you didn't start at the National Assembly. You didn't start in elected office as a member of the APC. The APC didn't exist when you got in there.
Yeah. I was part of the... Okay, that's another thing.
So you then carpet crossed yourself from one party to the other.
No, that was not it. We were the founding members of APC.
No, I understand that, but you came from another party.
Yes, from...
But your party then merged into the APC.
Our party, APC, ANPP then...
Right.
But that time I was in PDP.
Yeah, you were in PDP before you went to ANP.
Yes.
And then you went into APC.
Yes. No. I was in AMPP.
And then it merged with the...
I went to PDP on sabbatical, what I would call.
I like that. What does sabbatical mean?
That means...
in terms of your political sort of movement.
Because I was virtually forced out. That time I was in the House of Rep.
You mean forced out of the ANPP?
Yes.
Right.
Then I went to, and PDP opened their arms and received me 100 days before election.
Yeah, but that's what the APC is doing with these defectors. Why are you different from the people who are defecting now?
I'm not saying I'm different.
Right. Okay.
I'm already in, and I'm not saying they should not come in.
Because, I mean, the point, some would say that the reason you're sticking with the APC, which is what happens with a lot of Nigerian politicians, which is why you're not seeing politicians leaving the APC, but people coming into it, is because the APC is in power.
No.
If it wasn't in power,
No.
a lot of you might have moved on.
No. All my life, politically, I have been in the opposition. And in fact, that is why you see me, my disposition is more,
The
I
PDP
agree.
wasn't in the opposition when you went in.
Yeah, but I was playing opposition role in PDP. Wow. Yes, go and check my record. I went to prison during PDP.
No, I do understand, because I remember you from that period.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you've been consistent.
On speaking my mind.
Yeah.
When
that
I
is
see any... Obasanjo, let me tell you, let me even start. I started in 2003 in the House of Rep. Then Obasanjo was the president. And Obasanjo is like a father to me. You know, like just real father.
Right.
I grew up with some of his children in Port Harcourt when he was our GOC. But I was one of the frontliners against that term. I stand for that.
So he had you in his sights then, as a result.
No, he always tell me, even now, go to Obasanjo, go to Ebekuta, he treats me like his son. The same thing with this president. And one of those, as I told you, until recently when he became the president, I used to go to, Tinubu's bedroom, both in Bodilon and here in Lagos House. And he knows me very well. And if we meet casually, he will tell me, I hear you. Charles, I'm 65. I've been in this business 24 years now. God has done everything to me.
You've been very fortunate.
Yes, very, very fortunate.
And
the only thing I have to do right now, and I would prefer to die doing it, is to speak the truth and do what is right. And that is what I believe. That's why I will not jump the ship. Right. But when the ship is getting overloaded with unnecessary cargo, and that ship may capsize, then I better consider the small, watch out, the small ship.
You mean the little boats that are around the place? Well, let's look at those boats, because you were the Director General of Rotimi Amechi's campaign when he was running against President Tinubu to be the APC nominee in 2023. And he came second, beating out the likes of the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo and many others. He was finally beaten, albeit by a wide margin, by Bola Tinubu. So you did a pretty good job as the DG of his campaign.
Yeah. We had 315 votes. We gave them a good fight. And then after that, we thought things would go on fine, actually. Because I remember vividly that Tinubu, the governor of Lagos, the current Minister of Defense, and who else, came to, Tinubu called me to say he wants to come and meet with myself, Amechi, and so we agreed. And at that time, I remember I was to go for Hajj.
You were to go for?
Hajj.
Okay, right.
And so the president said, look, we want you to come on board and let's work together. And we agreed. And then we agreed that we will meet after I come back. And that meeting did not hold. That was how they abandoned Amechi.
Right.
So it's not his fault.
So that's where the simmering anger is coming from, is it?
Yeah, and but as you see, Amechi worked for the president. I can tell you that.
You mean after he lost?
After he lost,
sort of started working.
He was part of the PCC.
Right.
And our team, like Burate, the former IG, and many others, joined hands. Rufai was supposed to be on our side. And somehow, he moved over. And I think these are part of the things that are annoying him or frustrating. I think...
When you say he moved off, what do you mean?
He was on our side.
Yeah. You said he was supposed to be on your side.
Yeah, Amechi's side.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So after Tinubu was nominated...
No. Before Tinubu was nominated,
right,
he made up his mind to support Tinubu.
Okay.
And Tinubu, as he rightly said,
right,
that he should not leave and that he should come on board. So, since then, I've not been that to Rufai.
Right.
Because he abandoned our group. You understand? Went to support Tinubu fully.
Right.
And, he really mobilized. He did a lot of. Then, Tinubu is there. Asked him to join the government. But somehow, up to now, Charles, I don't understand what happened,
You mean between
them? Yeah, but that is not my business. And I was there sometimes say, okay, you did that to us, so. but
it's payback.
It's a payback to yourself.
Right.
But I cannot understand up to now. I was the chief whip. Rufai came to the chamber and we almost asked him to take a bow and go, or even to just lay out some plans.
Right. That is after he had been nominated as minister.
Yes. And I told you, I'm not a Rufai's fan or friend or anything, but truth must be told. You see, that was where Mr. President...
So recently I saw somebody, he earns 300,000 naira in Nigeria every month, and it's like a good pay. But I was wondering, how many years do you need to work before you can buy yourself a house or build yourself one? The truth of the matter is probably will not be able to do that, because that 300,000 naira, majority of it goes into his daily and monthly bills. But I shared with him that he should start something on the side, which is CPA marketing, and he was like, what is CPA marketing? So let me break it down to you. So what is CPA marketing? Because the first thing is you need to understand what the CPA marketing really means. So CPA means cost per acquisition or cost per action. It's a process by which we acquire customers or companies mostly in Europe, UK and America, and we are paid in dollars doing so. Now, people ask me, how
got it wrong. You don't form your government with dependence. And most of it is the president is a kingmaker, remember? So when a kingmaker becomes a king, then there is a problem which he must identify himself, so that he can have people that will stand up to him and tell him the truth. This is now what is lacking in this government. And when I said, and I still stand on it until there is a change, the government of Tinubu is dominated by kakistocrats and kleptocrats. I don't want to even respond to Bayo, where you say it's a lone wolf.
That's Bayo Onanuga, the presidential spokesman.
Bayo Onanuga is just in Nigeria. He is a domestic staff to the president. I am a senator 4 times. How dare he calls me, but I'm happy he called me lone wolf. He's a magadog.
Well, you forgot the word frustrated. He said frustrated lone wolf.
No, I'm not frustrated. I contested for
I didn't
Senate.
say you were. I'm saying that's what he called you.
Charles, why would I be frustrated? I contested to be a senator. I won 4 times. I won 2 times in the House of Reps. Where does the frustration come? I am a son of nobody who became somebody without knowing anybody. Ask the president. I'm not his dependent, one of his dependents. I'm his ally.
Well, you are the Nigerian dream, if there's any such thing.
I don't know about that. But let me tell you one thing that I like and I copy from Mr. President. He can get somebody to argue on that. If we were to swap position, and I'm the president, doing the same thing that he is doing now, he would have been on the street. He has done it before, to protest. Even if the government belongs to him, if the wrong thing is happening. Even today, somebody from the government is saying, look, why don't you come over? I say, I will not come over. I'm a senator. If the president, under normal democratic settings, the president is supposed to lobby me on issues. Because he doesn't have a vote for me, I have voted for him. Whether in the Senate, whether in the general election, or anything. And you know, I strongly believe that this power, or this position, I Ndume, believe that it is God that will give me or will take away from me. Not anybody. But it's a responsibility on me, and as my religious say, to speak the truth, even if I'm alone. And that's almost what is happening now in APC. They will come around and say, you are trying, but you are hitting too hard. I said, did I use physical punch on anybody? And you know what now? Because they don't know what to say. They always like an onogo will call me wolf, will call me lone wolf, will call me frustrated. He is the one that is frustrated. You know why?
But it's his job, though, isn't it?
It's not his job.
I mean, it's his job to respond to people who attack the president.
No. His job
or who overly criticize the president.
He's advisor on information and strategy.
Yeah, but he's a spokesman.
Look, let me learn. Look at what they did now. Embarrassing Mr. President when he honored some people. They honored they honored a living man posthumously. 2 people. When I say there are kick roasters there, and they will insult me, but what is this? Error of omission, commission, and stupidity? It was embarrassing on Mr. President. If I was the president, whoever is responsible for that, I will fire him and get somebody that knows the job.
Well, let me move to, because we were talking about Rotimi Amechi, for example, who is now a member of the opposition coalition.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the
fact... And he's also a member of APC.
Yeah, he is. I mean, many of them are still in their parties.
He has not resigned yet.
Yeah, they're still in their parties. But are you a member of that opposition coalition? Because I know that, at least I understand, that he and some of the other opposition figures are trying to convince you to cross over to that opposition coalition. I mean,
see, as long in the next, going forward, I will keep on speaking out and hoping that Mr. President...
No, what I'm saying is that, are you in this opposition
I'm aware
coalition?
of the...
But you've gone to their meetings, have you?
Yes, I went to several meetings.
Right.
I attend the meetings.
So in a sense, you are a member of the opposition coalition.
No, there's no opposition.
You still remain in the
no,
APC.
not now. That is not to say so. When I want to take a decision to do something, I will not, I will not hide it from you.
Yeah.
I still believe that this president can fix these things.
But have they...
No, wait, let me tell you. Failure to fix those things
might cause you to move.
Yes.
So
I will not have that, because it will sink.
Right. But have they been making...
The overloaded ship will sink.
Have they been making overtures to you?
Yeah.
To try and get you to come over?
And I told them no. You see, I don't want to jump from frying pan to fire.
What's the fire then?
I don't know yet. I have to make sure. I have to be sure.
But I mean, they're starting a new party. At least they haven't registered it yet, but they're trying to register.
Let me tell you, I'm a loyal person. My loyalty and this thing politically, it is the truth. I have my reason for being loyal to Amechi.
Right.
I believe he can do it. That's why I
Right. You believe he can be president?
Yeah, better
successful
president, a good successful president.
Right.
Now, I believe too, Tinubu can be successful president. That was, my expectation is high. But if he continues this way, then let me tell you, Charles, whether you load all other people or other governors, you are just endangering the APC by pushing it towards capsizing level. When you overload a ship,
it might keel over.
Everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, beyond the APC, you've also been, as you said, in the National Assembly for a very long time.
Yeah.
How do you assess the democratic evolution of that assembly? Do you think it's become more or less democratic as time has gone by?
It has become less democratic. Let me say it's very unfortunate. If you look at what the Senate or the National Assembly historically is built, Senate is supposed to be a house, particularly Senate is supposed to be a house of deliberation, where people will deliberate on policies of government, actions of government, spendings of government. That we are not doing now. We are more of an approving institutions, just giving necessary, unnecessary support to the executive. That division of executive, legislature, and judiciary is no longer there. Government have to some extent now be personalized and privatized. I can tell you that I, as a senator, is not quite even abreast of what is going on. You are supposed to deliberate. I told you yesterday when we spoke, Kobe Booker broke the record.
Cory Booker.
Cory Booker.
Yeah. The American.
He spoke
Senate.
against Donald Trump's policy for 25 hours, 4 minutes. And at one point, he was even abusing Trump. If I dare do that in National Assembly here,
What do you think
the Army Fire Brigade, everybody will be waiting for me at the gate.
Yeah, but let me ask you an important thing before we run out of time, because a big issue that has come up is the issue of security in this country.
Very
Recently,
serious.
your state is Borno State, which has been in the sights of Boko Haram and other sort of militant organizations for quite some time. We also know, and I want you to kind of connect the dots for us because you're very good at doing that. Moving beyond Borno State, which borders a lot of other West African states, we know, for example, that in the neighborhood, President Tinubu has handed over the leadership of the ECOWAS bloc to Sierra Leone. But in the context of insecurity in your state and what is going on in West Africa and all the rest of it, what condition has he left the subcontinent for his successor?
Honestly, that is an area where if I had opportunity, and the president lost it when he was the chairman, Nigeria naturally.
You mean chairman of ECOWAS?
Yes.
Right.
A leader. And then there was this trial of what happened in Niger, Burkina Faso, and it was not well handled. And that too, I don't blame it on him. But because the president has been cocooned, and those that would help would not necessarily push themselves. He is supposed to, Buhari is there, he's in Daura, Babangida is there, Obasanjo is there, Abdul Salam is there, Gawan is there, all of them are respected former presidents that would have resolved those issues, that would have even avoided this their exit from ECOWAS. It has done a blow. In fact, historically now, it will go down that it was during his chairmanship that this thing happened.
But what are the implications for security?
You can see now we are bearing the brunt. Because while they are there trying to block their country and protect it, the leftover of the ISWAP, this security Mokura.
Lakarua.
Yes. And even other new ones. Now look at what is happening in Benue and Plateau. You cannot put it together because I don't want to believe that, these things. And you see, the herdsmen have a network in Africa, not necessarily this thing. And the terrorists are taking advantage of it. The brunt of it now has been felt by Benin, Togo, Nigeria's case, where it's already infiltrated. You see, so I was thinking that the president would do whatever possible to make sure that he hand over a more united. But the chances are, he's still the biggest brother or the eldest brother or the big brother of ECOWAS. I don't think he has lost it all, but he should put in effort using the other heads of state to resolve this issue, because we are better off more united, more in number, than losing out, I think 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 of them.
Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. 3 of them. And you can see that the danger of it is they seem to be doing better. Or they are happy with themselves. Or at least they have their own independence and dictates their own, even getting to now they want to introduce their own common currency, which the ECOWAS have been struggling to do. So I would say that his tenure was marred by this unfortunate event.
Right. Okay. On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Senator Ali Ndume is a former Senate Chief Whip. He represents Borno South, and he is a ranking member of the APC.
Now it's time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin with some economic news, as the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, revealed yesterday that the federal government's revenue stood at 6.9 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025. This emerged as the Senate Committee on Customs directed the Nigerian Customs Service to raise its projected revenue target for 2025 from 6.584 trillion naira to 10 trillion naira, citing the agency's commendable revenue performance in 2024. The chairman of the committee, Senator Issa Jibrin from Kogi West, gave the directive during a budget defense session in Abuja following a presentation by a delegation from the NCS led by Deputy Controller General Jibo Bello, who represented the Controller General. For his part, Edun, who spoke in Abuja at the Citizens and Stakeholders Engagement session, attributed the 40% rise in revenue to ongoing reform, particularly in foreign exchange policy, and improved fiscal governance, buoyed by enhanced deployment of technology and automation across ministries, departments, and agencies.
Real GDP growth is on the right trajectory, but at 3.4%, even 3.8% is not enough. That is not the aim, that's not the objective, and that's not the target of Mr. President. It is instead to achieve, in the nearest future, a GDP growth rate on a sustainable basis of somewhere near 7% per annum. And why that figure? That would be more than double population growth. And therefore, that speaks to the fact that you can now move Nigerians out of poverty in their millions by having that level of growth. On the fiscal side as well, with the effort to apply technology, block loopholes, stem leakages, we have had in 2024 a huge increase in revenue from just above 12%, 12.5 trillion to 20 trillion naira, virtually 21 trillion. And in the first quarter of this year, likewise, when we even take April into account, first 4 months, we do have a substantial increase in revenue, and that effort continues.
To some developments in politics now, the management and staff of the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party in Abuja on Monday locked up offices and deserted the Secretariat building in protest of an attempt by Senator Samuel Anyanwu to occupy his office as the National Secretary. The party staff, who in a briefing last month pledged loyalty to the decision of the National Working Committee directing the Deputy Secretary, Setonji Koshodeo, to act as the National Secretary, collectively resisted Anyanwu's attempt to access the office of the National Secretary. Meanwhile, acting national chairman of the PDP, Umar Damagum, has disowned Sunday's comments by its national publicity secretary, Debo Ologunagba, that the party doesn't need the approval of the Independent National Electoral Commission to hold its National Executive Committee meeting slated for June 30. Now, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has decried the proposed implementation of the ban on single-use plastics, which is scheduled to take effect from July 1st, 2025, calling on the Lagos State Ministry of Environment to abandon the move. The association said the implementation of the ban would be a move in the wrong direction and one that was riddled with needless and potentially adverse economic and financial impact on the state and the country. The Director General of MAN, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir, made this call yesterday in a statement titled Re-examining the Lagos State Ban on Selected Single-Use Plastic. The statement highlighted that implementing the ban would occasion several job losses, lead to a further reduction in the availability of feedstock for recycling plants and loss of revenue, especially foreign exchange for manufacturers that sell their products in other states and export to neighboring African countries. It also urged Nigeria to position itself to tap into the enormous economic, environmental, and social benefits that are associated with advancing circularity through improved recycling solutions, as the global plastic recycling industry is projected to reach $114.18 billion by 2032. Now, of course, this ban has been a long time coming, and it has been postponed on a number of occasions. It's now imminent. I've seen supermarkets are trying their best with regards to plastic bags. But, of course, MAN is trying to point out the fact that it's bigger than plastic bags in supermarkets.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, let me start with the federal government before I come to MAN and plastic bags. It's a good one that the federal government is making money. In fact, they've been able to reduce debt service to revenue ratio to about 60%. I mean, remember over the 90% highs of the Buhari time. But when you look at it, yes, year-on-year increases, over 40% increases. He said it's a testament to better financing. I also think foreign exchange situation has also been part of it, and some other reforms that they've been able to put in, and the fact that, you've ramped up, collection as regards to customs and other things like that. Also, don't forget that you have a tax bill that has been, that has gone through its own gamut now. And you also have multiple, collection points. The fact that you're going to be collecting from, various sources as regards taxes and the likes and all of that. And there's still even so many monies pending. The other day I saw a list of some companies that are owing money as regards governmental royalties and things like that. I think that was totaling about 9.7 trillion. But over 6 trillion the first quarter is, some admirable amount. You're giving the states more in fact and all of that. You've been able to increase the reserves, and ramp up the number of the reserves. These are some good things. But when you look at it, how about the prevailing debt that is now happening? In all those days where we're not making as much, what was the debt, to GDP ratio? And what was the debt burden like? Today, we're taking a lot more debt. We say we are collecting a lot of money. We're taking a lot more debt. The minister also talked about the fact that when you look at it, yes, we didn't get a lot of revenue from oil and all of that. We're taking a lot more debt now as we speak. We didn't get a lot of revenue from oil, but there was a quick surge recently due to the Middle Eastern crisis. Let's see how that will reflect. But that's also short-term now because Trump has said, we can't go ahead with this one. Let's have ceasefire. All of a sudden, he's taking a vote fast. Like they always say, Trump's always chickens out. Taco. That's why they call him Taco. But when you now look at the level of debt we're taking, the projects that we are doing, that a lot of people are asking questions about, that is it really needed at this time where we need to cut our coat according to our size? When you look at the level of debt before, that under Jonathan's time, I'm talking about debt to GDP ratio that was over, 20% going to 30%, with 40% thereabout. Now it's well over 50%. When you check the MTEF, medium-term expenditure framework, and you see the debt that we're going to be taking, recently they released some of the numbers, going to the trillions. Cumulatively, over 40 trillion has been taken in debt. And they say we are making money. First quarter revenue is over 6 trillion, 40% increase from last year. The question is, why can't we do an appropriate accounting to be able to balance our books rather than taking more debts? Because the narrative of, we are doing well, we're raising more money, and we can only do better, yes, but you also juxtapose that with the debt level. Then he also went further to say, yes, we are getting some inroads as regards, crude oil production and the likes, local production. He mentioned the Dangote refinery. Why didn't the minister mention NNPC? When we were saying here that something was going on phony as regards that NNPC revamping of the refinery and everything, everybody said, your mouth is smelling refined, like I always get every time. But when you look at it deeply, today, there's been a report in the paper that the EFCC is now calling some officials of the NNPC to come and account for how much was spent on the 3 refineries. And when we say it was just a bending plan, so why is the minister, if the government claims, we had fixed the refineries they are producing, why is the minister only mentioning Dangote refinery as feeding into the local production stock, present about 1.2 million barrels per day? Why are they not mentioning the NNPC refinery that they had spent billions on? So these are questions we should ask to be able to balance it. As regards man, let's go quickly to it. See, man has been having a lot of problems as regards jobs. A lot was lost by the manufacturing sector because of the currency thing, the devaluation of our currency. In fact, they said they incurred close to about $1 trillion or over $1 trillion as regards that. That one is on ground. And when you now ban single-use plastic, it's also going to affect attendant jobs on ground in the economy. So what man is saying is, please, Stanford just remember that what you should actually do is to invest in an ecosystem where you can recycle, which we have always talked about. How can you have, collection process that is efficient? One model I'm going to put forward is called the waste-to-waste model. Let people actually sell their waste, and people actually make money off selling their waste to be able to boost recycling. I yield the floor here that there's time constraint.